So the yogurt is super simple, super simple. And I'm just going to talk you through it really quickly. There's a few different ways. All that it has is coconut milk or coconut cream, so the canned variety. You need a starter culture, so that can either be probiotic capsules, so the ones where you can open it and empty the powder. It can also be a culture that you buy, a yogurt culture from a health food store, or it can be a couple of tablespoons of Koyo or another coconut yogurt. I find that's the best way to do it. Buy a tub of it, put a few tablespoons to make heaps more, and then eat the rest of the tub that you've bought, and do it that way. It just works out cheaper, and the result I find is better. Yogurt cultures are really time consuming. You have to get the temperature and things right. So all I did here was I put 2 cans of coconut cream in the blender. Oh, sorry, I should add you need something to feed the bacteria, so I use sugar or rice malt syrup. Yep.
The Koyo
yeah.
process. Then further, when you're going on to your next.
Can you use this as a starter? Good question. You can, but there might not be a high success rate. So with most things when you're fermenting, you can often you can ferment a batch, take a little bit of that batch as your starter and keep reusing. Coconut yogurt tends to be a bit iffy with that. I've done it with success, but then I've done workshops with people and they've said it hasn't worked, but I've followed your recipe and used my second batch as a starter. So in that case, if you were using some of this to do another batch, I would probably empty in 2 to 4 probiotic capsules just to give it a bit of a boost. Yeah, yep. So you put the 2 cans of coconut cream in the blender, or milk, depending on how runny or thick you want it. Coconut cream makes it thicker. Then you put in about 4 spoonfuls of Koyo, if you're doing it that way, and 2 tablespoons of a sweetener. So you might use rice malt syrup, maple syrup, or you can even use raw sugar. This is where it freaks people out because they think, I don't want to eat sugar, but we know that we need to give the bacteria in here, the living bacteria, food so that it can actually continue fermenting. So there's barely any residual sugar left by the time it's finished fermenting. If you try and maybe take a little bit of the sugar out because you don't want it to have too much at the end, you can actually starve the bacteria. So it's really important to put it in. Leave it it usually only takes 24 hours. You can taste it the next day, and if it's sweet, it still needs to do more. So if it's a little bit sour and there's a bit of a tang, you know that it's ready, and you pop it straight in the fridge. You'll also see that it'll be aerated. It'll look like an aero bar, you know, the little bubbles. Doing a coconut yogurt ferment requires oxygen. So there's 2 different types. There's like these, no oxygen, so the lid's on. These, when I had them going, had a little bit of cheesecloth over the top of the open jar with a rubber band around it. It's really important it gets oxygen to feed that process as well.
Can you use coconut sugar or coconut?
Yeah, you could. People have experimented with so many different types of sweetener. It just depends on what your preference is or what you have. And coconut nectar is great as well. You'll find at the end sometimes you'll get this layer forming, and that's okay, that's normal. You can either stir it in and it will make the yogurt a bit runnier, or I like it really thick, so I scoop all of this out and I don't really use that. You could actually put that in a smoothie, so it's still got all the beneficial bacteria as well. It's just separating slightly. I'm gonna let Amanda scoop some of this up. Sometimes in winter it can take maybe 2 days, but temperature control is pretty important here as well. So I've got like a cupboard that's really good for fermenting, or a spot where it's not in direct sunlight, because again, we're dealing with living things, you know, they need a bit of care and for us to be gentle. So find a good spot where the temperature is pretty steady, and if it's in a cupboard, then it's in a cupboard. So yeah.